Yeah. So I'll be just stating whatever I have stated again because I have not started the recording. Right. So, hi, hello everyone. Today is going to be your first lecture on Shakespeare, which is having the course code 6212. And today we'll be focusing on the block number one, which is titled as Midsummer Night Dream. And in this lecture, we'll be talking about unit 1 to unit number 4. So this class is particularly for the students who are in their masters in English, and myself Shalini Chaudhary. I am a guest faculty in English over here, and I'll be moderating this particular course on Shakespeare. So let us have a quick understanding of the courses that are being offered under MA English that you have to cover in your entire syllabus. So first is ENM 6211, which is titled as Fundamentals of Linguistics and ELT. It is for 4 credits. Each course is having 4 credits. Next is ENM 6212, which is Shakespeare, which I'm going to be moderating. That is for 4 credits. Next is ENM 6213, that is on literary criticism and theory. It is also for 4 credits. Next is ENM 6214, titled as British Poetry Second, and it is also for 4 credits. Next up, we have ENM 6215, British Prose Second, which is also for 4 credits. So, this is the entire structure of your syllabus and the courses that are offered. Now, let us break up the course structure of the course that I'll be teaching you. Right, so this is titled as Shakespeare. So the entire course is structured around Shakespeare. There are some comedies, there are certain tragedies that are written by Shakespeare. So if you are coming from literary background, Shakespeare is someone you must be very familiar with. But even if you are coming from outside the literary background, Shakespeare is one name which is very prominent in literature, and that is one of the reason this entire course is dedicated to Shakespeare. So here we'll be talking about block number one, where we'll talk about Midsummer Night Dream. So Midsummer Night Dream is a romantic comedy by Shakespeare. And in this lecture, we'll be covering the first 4 units of the block, which deals with the first 4 acts of the comedy. Right, so let us quickly have a look on the learning goals that we are having in relation to this particular lecture. So we'll try to understand that what are the common features, what are the common characteristics that we can understand while we are reading this particular play by Shakespeare, which is titled as A Midsummer's Night Dream. Then we'll be able to analyze major themes such as the theme of love, illusion, and transformation. So when you will read plays by Shakespeare, whether it's comedy, tragedy, you will get to see that these kind of themes of love, illusion, transformation, revenge, they are very repetitive in nature. These are the themes that he uses in most of his plays. Then to examine the roles and relationship of key characters in the play, we'll be able to understand that what kind of intricate relationship the characters are having among them in the play. Then to identify important dramatic techniques, we'll also talk about that what kind of dramatic techniques Shakespeare has used, such as meta theater. These kind of techniques we'll talk about. Then to enhance critical thinking and interpretation of literary text. So via these lecture, you will also able to understand that in what manner you can interpret any play or any literary text that you are reading. So in the interpretation of a text, it is important that you are focusing on the background in which it was written. Now, right now we are talking about Midsummer Night Dream. So it was written in the Elizabethan age when Queen Elizabeth was ruling England, and that is why it is called as Elizabethan era. So this was a period when drama was expanding. And why it was expanding? It was expanding because the Queen was very much supporting these type of artistic pleasures. She was also giving patronage to the writers. So what is patronage? Basically, she was paying to the writers to write. So since people see that there is a sort of livelihood that they can earn while writing plays, so this is one more reason why drama was becoming very prominent during the Elizabethan period. Right, so that is why it is very important for you to understand the context in which the writer was writing. So the first block, it is based on Midsummer Night Dream, and we'll start with the act number one. But before that, let us have an understanding about Shakespeare. So William Shakespeare, he was born in 1564 and he died in 1660. So he is widely regarded as one of the greatest writers in English literature. obviously he's one figure that is very prominent in literature and everyone knows about him, even if somebody is coming from literature and even if somebody is coming from outside the field of literature. He has authored around 37 plays, right? It is actually 37 and a half, so sometimes we can say 37 or 38. Then along with these plays, he has also written 154 sonnets. Sonnets are basically the poems of containing 14 lines, and he has also written certain narrative poems such as Venus and Adonis. And his dramatic works are generally classified into comedies, tragedies, and histories. Right. So the entire work, the entire category of work that he has written, they can further be classified into three types. So first is comedy, which we are going to cater to today, Midsummer Night Dream. Then tragedy, that we'll be looking forward in the next block. There is King Lear, there is Hamlet. These are the tragedies. Then there are histories as well. So histories are not included in this particular course, but he has also written historical play like Richard II, Richard III, Henry IV. So he has also written a lot of historical plays as well. So his plays are known for their exploration of universal themes, themes of love, themes of power, themes of jealousy, ambition, revenge, illusion. So all these things, these kind of themes are basically very common to the writing of Shakespeare. So among his comedies, A Midsummer Night Dream stand out for its imaginative blending of reality and fantasy. So when we are talking about Midsummer Night Dream and why it is so important or why it stands out in the writing of Shakespeare, it is because he's blending reality with illusion. He's blending the real condition with the fantastical condition, presenting a world where human emotions are intricately influenced by the magical powers. Now, so this is the author's detail. Now we'll focus on the characters of the play so that you can understand that who are the major characters, what kind of role they are playing in the entire comedy, and then we'll move to the act 1, act 2, act 3, and act 4. But before that, we'll understand the characters. I hope this is visible. So the first character that we will talk about is Theseus, because the entire play begins with that particular point. So Theseus, he is the Duke of Athens and he is engaged to Hippolyta, and Theseus projects confidence, authority and benevolent power. So he is the Duke of Athens. So he is the most powerful character that we can see in the entire play, and he is engaged to Hippolyta. So next we'll talk about Hippolyta. So she is the legendary queen of the Amazons engaged to Theseus. Like Theseus, she is also symbolizes order. So the way Theseus is symbolic of order, control, and power, in the similar manner, Hippolyta is also symbolizing order. Then we have Demetrius and Hermia. So Demetrius is a young man of Athens. He thinks he is in love with Hermia, but ultimately loves Helena, chosen by Eugeus for his daughter Hermia to marry, despite her love for Lysander. So who's Hermia? A young woman of Athens in love with Lysander and friend of Helena. As a result of the fairies' mischief, both Lysander and Demetrius fall in love with Helena. So you do not need to understand that what they are doing in the play right now. Just remember the name and their positions, right? Like Theseus is the Duke of Athens. Hippolyta is the one with whom he is engaged to. Then there is Demetrius. He is a young man of Athens. Then Hermia, she is a young woman. And Eugeus is the father of Hermia. And he has chosen Demetrius to be married to Hermia, to her daughter. He wants that Hermia should marry Demetrius. But Hermia is in love with Lysander. This is Lysander. He is another person and Hermia loves Lysander. So a young man of Athens in love with Hermia, they run away to the forest, but Lysander becomes victim of misapplied magic and wakes up in love with Helena. Right? So he is the person with whom Helena is in love with. Next up, we have Titania. She is the queen of fairies. The beautiful queen of fairies, Titania, under a magic spell, fell in love with Bottom. Okay. Then we have Oberon. He is the king of fairies. So Titania and Oberon, they are both couple, right? Titania is the queen of fairies. Oberon is the king of fairies. So he is the one who is planning a lot of mischief in the entire play that we'll be taking up in the acts. Then there is Puck, so a fairy spirit and Oberon's jester, also known as Robin Goodfellow. Right, so he's also a fairy, and he is the one who implements the order of the king of fairies, that is Oberon. Okay, so these are the things that you have to remember. Then bottom is basically another character that we use in the play in order to provide some sort of comedic relief, right? So whenever Shakespeare is writing, there are certain characters in the play that he is using in order to provide comedic relief. So these both bottom and pup, they are both these sort of characters. Then there is Peter Quince, a carpenter and the nominal leader of the craftsmen who attempt to put on a play. So Peter Quince is actually the leader of a group who is trying to perform a play. So when initially I started with the lecture and we talked about that we be discussing some of the dramatic techniques, I have told you that Shakespeare has used meta theater. What is meta theater? Theater is play within a play, theater within theater. So this entire thing that we are studying right now, Midsummer Night Dream, it is a play, right? It is a drama, but within this drama there is another drama that is getting performed. So this becomes meta theater when there is some play within a play. So Peter Quince is actually a kind of director of the play that is happening inside this play. So these are the main characters that you have to remember. Now let us start with the act number 1, scene 1. So the act number 1 starts within the court of Athens. So you have to remember the settings of the act, because the setting also play a very important role. They are not just physical in nature. They are not just providing the physical environment. They are also having symbolic representation. Now, for example, the scenes which are taking place in courts, they show law, order, they show restriction, they show foundation, while the scenes that takes place in the magical forest, they show that everyone is having free will, there is freedom of choice, there's liberation. So that is why you have to remember that what kind of setting is being used in which scene. So this particular act, the play opens in Athens with Theseus. Who's Theseus? Theseus is the king of Athens, Duke of Athens, eagerly awaiting his marriage to Hippolyta. So Theseus is very much eager to get married to Hippolyta. She is the queen of Amasis. So their wedding scheduled in 4 days. So their wedding is scheduled in the next 4 days. Create an atmosphere of festivity, and because of this, there is an atmosphere of festivity and celebration because they are about to get married. And on this occasion only, when we discuss play within the play is getting performed on this occasion when they will get married. So yet this harmony is immediately disrupted by a legal and emotional conflict. So there is festivity and celebration to celebrate the marriage, but there is some sort of disruption. And why this disruption is happening? Eugeus, the father of Hermia, he's entering the court and he's complaining against his daughter Hermia. So why he is complaining against his daughter Hermia? Because she is not ready to get married to the person that Eugeus has chosen for him. So basically at that point of time during Elizabethan period, though the queen was a women were not having many rights. Even in the plays that were getting performed in the major theaters such as Globe, there were no women who were performing. They were only men dressed as women because women were not allowed to do all these things. So you can see the kind of restrictions the women were having at that point of time. So basically, this shows that how Hermia is getting treated as an object that the father wants to trade, that I should choose that who will you get married to. You have no choice of your own. You cannot choose your own partner. So this kind of things were very prevalent at that point of time. Now Eugeus invokes the Athenian law. So there was an Athenian law which exists earlier, which is not in existence right now, but he wants that law to be evoked. And what is that law? The law states that if a daughter is not getting married to the person who the father is choosing, either she should remain she should adopt celibacy, she should not get married for her entire lifespan, or she should be killed, right? She should be hanged till death. So this was the law. and Eugenius wanted to re-invoke that law, and that is why he's going to the court of Theseus. So I have told you about the law. Lysander argues that he is as worthy as Demetrius and reminds the court that Demetrius has once been in love with Helena, who still loves him. Despite this, Theseus remains firm, giving Hermia time to decide. So Lysander is putting his own arguments that I am equally capable as Demetrius, and even Demetrius was earlier in love with Helena, and Helena is still in love with Demetrius. So why you are ordering Hermia and Demetrius to get married? So these are the arguments that are put forward. Now, faced with this rigid authority, Lysander proposes that he and Hermia escape to the forest. So because of this restriction, because of this order, because of all these things that are happening, what is Lysander proposing? He's saying that we should escape. We should just move away to the forest outside Athens, where Athenian law cannot reach them. Right? So because the Athenian law is only applicable to Athenia, it is not applicable outside that particular point of place. So that is why he is proposing that we should just escape from this particular part, and we should move to the forest because there are no laws that are applicable there. So Hermia agrees and they plan to meet in the woods. So Hermia is also agreeing to this idea. However, when Hermia confides in Helena about their plan, so Hermia is telling the entire plan to her friend Helena, because Helena is very close to Hermia. So Helena, driven by her unreciprocated love for Demetrius, and as we all know till now, that Helena is still in love with Demetrius. So what she is doing, just to have some sort of affection from Demetrius, he is revealing the entire plan of Hermia and Lysander to Demetrius. So this scene shifts from the court to a group of craftsmen. So after the court, the first scene was in the court. It shifts to the craftsmen. Who are the craftsmen? The people who are preparing the play to be performed inside the play. These craftsmen are titled as mechanicals, and their leader is Peter Quince, led by Peter Quince, who plans to perform Pyramus and Thisbe. So what is the play that is getting performed inside the play? It is titled as Pyramus and Thisbe, and it is getting performed to celebrate the wedding of Theseus and Hippolyta. Now, Nick Bottom, I have already told you, Nick is one of the characters who provides comedic relief. So he is very mischievous character. He's also a sort of a character who provides a lot of comedy. So Nick Bottom provides humor through the eagerness. So what is he doing? So in the entire play, there are certain characters, but Nick Bottom is eager to perform the role of each character, and by doing so, he is creating humor. So while the group's fear about frightening the audience reveal their naivety, they decide to rehearse in the forest. Right? So the group decide to rehearse the entire play in the forest so that the other people of the town do not get to know that they are very naive. They do not know very much about this entire art. So that is why they have decided to practice the play in the forest. Now, Unit 2, Act 2. So, scene number 1. It is, what is the setting? The setting is the enchanted forest outside Athens. So, the scene shifts to the forest. It is an enchanted forest. What does that mean? It is a forest which is not like a normal forest. It is a forest with magical powers. Because we get to see fairies here, we get to see the queen of fairies, the king of fairies. We get to see the people who have magical powers. So the scene shifts to the forest, introducing the magical realm of Oberon and Titania. Oberon, the king of fairies; Titania, the queen of fairies, who are in conflict over a changeling boy. What is a changeling boy? Basically, a boy who serves the king and queen. So there is a boy, and both the king and the queen wants them, and because of that, they are having a sort of quarrel between them. So their quarrel disrupts the natural world, causing floods, failed crops, and seasonal imbalance. Because they are having magical powers, so because of their quarrel, because of their conflict, there are a lot of disruption that are happening in the real world environment as well, such as failure of crops, seasonal imbalance, nature, then a lot of disaster. So all these symbolizes how disorder in relationship affect nature. Right? So the quarrel between the couple is also reflective of how, when there are certain disruption in your relationship, it affects the nature around you. So Oberon resolves to punish Titania. So Oberon has decided that I should punish Titania because she is not agreeing to give the changeling boy to me by using a magical love potion. So what is he using? He is using a magical love potion. What is that potion? Whoever person will consume that potion will fall in love. That is why it is titled as love potion. That will make her fall in love with the first creature she sees upon waking up. So meanwhile, Demetrius enters the forest pursued by Helena. So Demetrius is entering the forest because Helena has told him about the plan of Hermione and Lysander of eloping to the forest. Now, whom he rejects harshly. Observing this, Oberon feels sympathy for Helena. So when Demetrius and Helena enters the forest, uh, Oberon, the king of fairies, sees the kind of treatment Demetrius is giving to Helena. And because of that treatment, Helena is very sad. So he thinks, I should help this poor girl and I should make this person fall in love with her. So Oberon feels sympathy for Helena and instruct his servant Puck. So Puck, the magical fairy, who is actually the one who implements all the orders of Oberon. So he's instructing Puck to apply love potion to Demetrius. So what is he instructing? He's instructing Puck that you should go apply that potion to Demetrius so that he falls in love with Helena. Right? So this is what he's ordering to Puck. Now Act 2, Scene 2. This is from where the confusion in the entire play starts. So in this scene, Titania falls asleep. Titania is falling asleep and Oberon applies the love potion to her eyes. So initially in the last scene, we have seen that Oberon wants to take revenge from Titania because she is not agreeing to give away the changeling boy. So what he is doing, he is using the love potion while she's asleep, and he's applying that potion to her eyes as well, so that she falls in love with the first person she sees after waking up. So at the same time, Puck mistakenly anoints Lysander instead of Demetrius. So what was the order that Oberon has given to Puck? That you should give this potion to Demetrius. But mistakenly, what is he doing? He is giving that potion to Lysander. And now what will happen? Lysander will fall in love with Helena instead of Demetrius. So when Lysander awakens and sees Helena, he instantly falls in love because of the magical potion. And he abandons Hermia. And she was supposed to be her true love. Right? Both of them have eloped to the forest just to get married, to be together. But now what is happening? The situation is completely changing. And what is happening? Lysander is falling in love with her Helena, and he is abandoning the love of his life, that is Hermia. So this creates a sudden reversal of relationship. So there is a sudden reversal in the relationship that was existing in Athens. In Athens, Lysander and Hermia were in love. But now here in the magical world, what is happening? The entire situation is changing. It is reversing, intensifying emotional confusion and conflict. Because of this, there is emotional confusion, there is conflict. Hermia, unaware of the enchantment, is left distressed. But Hermia is not able to understand that what is happening with me. Why is Lysander treating me this way? Why is he abandoning me? Because she is not aware about any sort of magical powers that were applied for in this particular situation. So she is completely distressed. She is completely left alone. She is abandoned. So while Helena believes she is being mocked, Hermia is distressed because Lysander has left her. And Helena, the one with whom Lysander is falling in love because of the magic potion, she is very much confused. She's like, these people are mocking me. She seems as if there is some sort of joke that they are playing. So the scene highlights the irrational and unstable nature of love. So in the entire scene, we get to see that how irrational love is, how unstable love is. Because at one point of time, Lysander was in love with Hermia, but now he's in love with Helena. Though there is some magical and fantastical elements that are being used here, but this shows that how love is unstable. Now, significance. What is the entire significance of this act? conflict. It introduces the supernatural element through the fairy world. The supernatural element, what is supernatural? Something which is above the natural. Natural is ordinary, so anything which is beyond ordinary becomes supernatural. So when we are talking about fairies, we are talking about magical potion, we are talking about the enchanted forest. These are all supernatural elements which do not exist in the real world. Then shows nature mirroring human conflict. It shows that how nature mirrors the human conflict, how there were natural disasters, natural imbalances that were created because of the human conflict. Then initiates magical chaos in love relationship. It also initiates the magical chaos in the love relationship, develops the theme of love as irrational and unpredictable as well as unstable. So this is the entire significance of act number 2. Now act 3, scene 1. So in the forest, the group of craftsmen, who are the craftsmen, the mechanicals, and who's the leader of the craftsmen? Peter Quince. They are rehearsing the play which is titled as Pyramus and Thisbe, right? So you have to remember the name of the play which is getting performed. It is Pyramus and Thisbe. So Nick Bottom dominates the rehearsal with his exaggerated acting. Like Nick Bottom, he's the fool. Basically, he's the fool or the jester in the play who provides comedic relief. And what is he doing? He's dominating the entire performance, the entire rehearsal of the play. In what manner? By his exaggerated acting, by his initiative of performing the role of each character. So during this, Puck plays a trick. So Puck, he is the servant of Oberon, the fairy, and he plays a trick on him. So he's playing a trick on Bottom, and he's transforming his head. The head of Bottom is transformed into a donkey. So for example, right now I'm a human and my head is cut off and it is replaced by the face of a donkey. So this is what is happening. So the other craftsmen, terrified, run away, leaving Bottom alone. So after seeing this horrific situation, that this person's face is transforming into a donkey's face, the others who were there, they were completely terrified. They were in fear. So they are running away, leaving Bottom alone at that point of time. Meanwhile, Titania, under the influence of the love potion applied by Oberon. So earlier we have seen that the love potion has been applied to Titania as well, right? Titania, the queen of fairies, she was also under the influence of the love potion. We have seen it in the earlier scenes. Now what is happening? So when she's waking up, who's the first person she's going to see? Bottom with the face of a donkey. And when she sees Bottom for the very first time with the donkey head, and she was under the spell of the magical potion, the love potion, and because of that, what is the first sentence that she speaks to Bottom? Can you just imagine? So she says that you are the most beautiful creature I have ever seen and I am in love with you. So these kind of statements she uses, which clearly shows that she is under the influence of a magical potion. That is why she's considering the head of a donkey to be one of the most prettiest face that she has seen in the entire life. Okay, so what is happening? Titania is waking up from her sleep. She is seeing the first person, which is Bottom, and as per the magic potion, as per the love potion, whoever you see is first after waking up, you will fall in love with him or her. So she falls in love with Bottom with a donkey head. She dotes on him, creating a highly comic and absurd situation. This scene blends fantasy and humor. So this scene is basically an amalgamation of both fantasy as well as the humor, while advancing the theme of love as irrational and illusionary. So this scene further advances. This scene further broadens the theme of love being irrational and illusionary, because no human being can fall in love with a person who is having a donkey face. You cannot consider that donkey face as the prettiest face that you have ever seen. It is all irrational. It is all illusionary. Now we have Act 3, Scene 2. Let me explain you that how the acts were divided during the Elizabethan period. So there is a Freitag's principle. According to this principle, the entire play is divided into 5 acts, right? And the first act, it is the introductory act where you get to know what are the things that are happening. Second act is the rising action. The action will rise up. Third act is the climax. It is actually this shape. You have to remember this shape. Pyramid is like this, right? So you just remember Freytag's pyramid. So you remember this particular shape. So here we are starting from this point. So this is the introduction. We are heightening up rising level, reaching the zenith. That is the climax that happens in the third scene, third act. So after the climax, what will happen? There will be falling action, and after the falling action we will reach to the conclusion of the play. So the in this manner the five acts are divided. So since this is act number 3, so we'll be reaching the height of confusion, we'll be reaching the climax over here. So Oberon learns from Puck that the wrong man has been enchanted. Now Oberon finally learns that what kind of blunder Puck has done. Instead of enchanting Demetrius, he has enchanted Lysander. So to correct the mistake, he applies the love potion to Demetrius. So what is happening to correct the mistake that that Puck has committed? Now Oberon is applying the love potion to Demetrius. Now what happened? Lysander was already in love with Helena. Now Demetrius also falls in love with Helena. Right? So now both the boys falls in love with Helena, and now they are both fighting with each other to win Helena. And Hermia is completely in distress. She is left alone. And she's thinking, what is happening with me? Why these people are all going nuts around Helena? What is the reason? So Helena unable to believe. Helena is still in astonishment. She is still surprised. She is still believing that she is being mocked, because she's not able to accept that earlier there was nobody who was loving me. Both the guys wanted to get married to Hermia. Now the situation has completely been reversed. Both of them are in love with her, right? But this is happening because of the magical potion. So Hermia becomes confused and hurt by Lysander's rejection. The situation escalates into quarrels among the four lovers. So because of the situation, there is quarrel among four of the people. To prevent further chaos, Oberon instructs Puck to separate the lovers and eventually restore order. So finally, because it has all been very chaotic, both the guys have fallen in love with the same person. Now finally, Oberon is instructing Puck that whatever you have done, whatever the blunder you have done, you have to rectify it. You have to restore the original order, right? So that is why it is the climatic act. Now, what is the significance of the entire act? Represent the climax of confusion and chaos, shows extreme irrationality of love, with the characters of Titania and Bottom falling in love. Combines comedy, Bottom and Titania, with emotional conflict of the lovers, prepares for the sorry, prepares for the resolution in later acts. Then we have Act 4, Scene 1. Just a minute. Just a minute. Let me have some water. So now we will be discussing the act number 4, scene 1. It is about restoration and awakening. So as I've told you, act 3 was the climactic act. Now we will see the falling action in act number 4. So the scene opens in the forest. So the scene is still in the forest, where Titania, she is still under the enchantment of the love potion, is lovingly attending to Nick Bottom, who has a donkey hat. Right, so Nick is having a donkey hat. Oberon having obtained the changeling boy. Now finally Oberon has obtained the changeling boy. The entire conflict was around that boy, and he is able to obtain it because Titania was under the spell. decides to lift the spell from Titania. So, because his purpose has been served, he has got the changeling boy. He is finally deciding to lift the spell from Titania. Once freed, she is shocked by her infatuation with Bottom, and harmony between Oberon and Titania is restored. Right. So once she's getting relief from the uh, enchantment, she's realizing that how she can fall in love with Bottom, how she can have infatuation with a person with a donkey head. And later on, there is harmony that is established between both Oberon and Titanium. Oberon then orders Puck to remove Bottom's donkey head. So after the harmony that is restored between Oberon and Titania, Oberon is ordering Puck to remove Bottom's donkey head. Bottom later wakes up believing the entire experience to be a strange dream. So Bottom is then waking up realizing that he has seen a very long dream, reflecting the play's theme of illusion and reality, which reflects on the play's theme of illusion and reality. It reflects how there is the theme of illusion, the theme of confusion, that which part is true, which part is untrue, which part is real, which part is illusion, which part is the part of reality, and which part is a part of fantastical world. So meanwhile, Theseus, the Duke of Athens, along with Hippolyta and Eugeus, arrives in the forest. So these people are coming in the forest for hunt. They discover the four lovers asleep, and they discover the four lovers, Lysander, Demetrius, Helena, and Hermia, asleep. Upon waking, Demetrius now genuinely loves Helena. Now, what is happening after waking up? Demetrius now genuinely is in love with Helena due to the potion, while Lysander returns to Hermia. Right? So, Demetrius falls in love with Helena because of the potion, and Lysander has been removed from the enchantment, so he goes back to Hermia. Seeing the situation resolved, Theseus overrules Eugeus. Now, finally, Theseus is overruling Eugeus that I will not be revoking the law, and permits the two couples to get married. Order is thus restored both in love and in society. Now, scene number 2, the mechanicals relief back in Athens. So all of these people are going back to Athens. The craftsmen worry about Bottom's sudden disappearance. So at that point of time, when Puck has removed the face of Bottom and replaced it with the face of a donkey, so what is happening at that point of time? The people who were there around, all the mechanicals, they, in the fear, they run away from there. Now what they are doing, they are very curious, they are very worried about where Bottom has been, because he has been disappeared for all along. So they were very worried about that. Their anxiety highlights their dependence on him. So the anxiety, the worry that they were having towards Bottom is also reflective that they are dependent on him. That is why they are worried about him. Soon Bottom returns. So soon after this, Bottom returns because he has been restored, and he thinks whatever he has experienced was a dream. Bottom returns, recounting his experience as a mysterious dream. The group rejoices and prepares to perform their play at the Duke's wedding. So all of them become happy, and they again start preparing to perform the play at the celebratory function of the Duke's marriage. Now, some important quotes from Act 1 to 4. The course of true love never did run smooth. So this is one of the most important quote spoken by Lysander. It shows love is full of obstacles. Next is, love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind. This is by Helena, and it simply shows that love is blind and it is irrational, because it is not seeing with the eyes, it is seeing with the mind, right? But eyes are the organs with which we see, and if we are using our mind to see, we will not be able to see anything. That is why it is irrational and it is blind. So, Lord, what fools these mortals are. This is the statement by Puck, which shows humans are foolish because they fall in love. I have had a dream, past the wit of man, to say what dream it was. This is by Nick Bottom. And as I've already told you, he was thinking that whatever has happened with him was a mysterious dream. So this is why he's saying, and it is reflective of reality and the merge of dreams. I have had a dream. past the wit of a man to say what dream it was. So it was a kind of dream which nobody could have ever imagined. It is past the wit, it is past the intelligence that the man is having to understand that what kind of dream he has seen. Now, talking about the major themes, love as irrational and unpredictable. Love changes suddenly, which we get to see in the case of Lysander Demetrius under the magic. Illusion versus reality, because Bottom was not able to uh, understand that whether he has seen a dream or whatever has happened was actually true. So dreams, magic, transformation, they all blur reality. Authority versus individual desire. The conflict between Eugeus, the father, and the daughter Hermia are reflective of authority versus individual desire. Order versus chaos. Court is representative of order. This is why I have told you that you have to remember that which act was having which setting, because court is reflective of order, while on the other hand forest is reflective of confusion and the disorder. Then we have natural and the supernatural, because there is the introduction of fairies and the fantastical and the enchanted island, the forest. So that is why there is the theme of nature and the supernatural. Oberon and Titania influence natural harmony. Now, what are the key dramatic features that have been used? Comic relief, the mechanicals, bottom, puck, all these are used for comic relief. Magic and fantasy, love potion, fairy world, enchanted forest, multiple plots. So there are basically three plots. First is of Eugeus and Hippolyta. Sorry, actually there are four. First is Eugeus and Hippolyta. Second is the four lovers. Third is the fairy conflict, and fourth is the play within the play or the meta theater. Then we have transformational motive, bottoms, donkey head, changing love relationship, then movement of settings. It is also important. Eighth is reflective of order, forest reflective of chaos and liberation, and finally there has been a restoration of the order. Then let us move towards the conclusion. Act 1 to 4 of Midsummer Night Dream trace the movement from order to chaos and back towards harmony, as rigid social laws give way to emotional confusion under the influence of magic. Through the entangled relationship of lovers and the intervention of Oberon and Puck, William Shakespeare presents love as irrational, transformative, and often beyond human control. The contrast between the structured code and the enchanted forest highlights the tension between reality and illusion, while the restoration of balance in Act 4 prepares for the final resolution of the entire play, suggesting that disorder is ultimately temporary and necessary for harmony. So this was it for today's lecture. We have talked about the first four unit of your syllabus. In the next lecture, we'll be moving towards the last unit of block 1, and we'll start with the first three units of block 2. Right? So thank you so much for joining in, and I hope whatever we have discussed in the lecture is quite clear to all of you. And if there are any queries that you are having regarding the lecture, you can mail me the queries at shalini371995 at the rate gmail.com. I will be more than happy to resolve your queries. So thank you so much for joining in, and we'll be meeting again in the next lecture. I hope whatever we have done in the entire lecture is quite clear.